This time I have a JVC BRS605 Super VHS professional deck. It would have been a duplicator or some other professional application. This one's not working. It was shipped in. And, well, let's take a look and see what we can figure out what's wrong with this one. So before I even power it up, I'm going to pull the top off, just to give it a once-over inspection and show you guys the inside of it. As this is a pro machine, the tops are designed to come off with just a couple of thumb screws. And they generally didn't even tighten these down very tight as a rule, because operators would open these units up to clean them, etc. Oh, what do we got here? Here's a prime example. That's why you don't ship things with popcorn shipping. Besides making a bloody mess of my shop when I opened the box and had popcorn chips exploding all over the place, it looks like some of them got into the machine itself. It's always a good thing. Good thing I didn't put a tape in there before trying this out. Let's just see if there's any other debris in here. And yes, there is an elusive piece right there. Okay, I think I've got it all. Let's start by powering the unit up and see if it'll even turn on. Okay, I think there's a secondary switch on here. Turn that secondary switch on. Fan runs constantly, it sounds like. It's off now, but when I turn it on, I get a vacuum fluorescent display lighting up. I don't know anything about this machine, so let's try loading a tape and see if it will play anything. Okay, well that part works. Let's just see if it'll go into fast forward or rewind and make sure that the idler tire isn't worn out. Ah, it does not rewind. And it does not fast forward. Therefore, I can hear the motor trying to turn. Therefore, first things first, let's deal with the idler tire here, which is most certainly worn out. Okay, let's see whether it will try. You can see that the motor's turning. Let's just see what happens if I put it into as you can see, though, there's no torque, and it would eat the tape. Now it's going to try to go into play, but it's detecting that the leader is damaged. Try fast forward, see whether it'll do anything. Well, we know that the motor turns, but there's no torque being transferred. Try to get it to eject. I have to take this idler out and see if I can at least, if nothing else, glue a belt around the tire itself. See if that will work. Because I won't have a tire like this. I don't know that I have much luck even trying to get one. Removing the board or flipping the board up. And the front basket will lift out. If I lift up the board, I can lift the front basket right out. Oh, there's still popcorn in here. Yeah, don't ship stuff with this crap in there, right? It's you might think you're buying yourself protection, but when it gets inside the machine, it can certainly cause problems, that's for sure. Okay, I want to take the idler out. This lifts off. And Now the idler should just lift right out of here. If I'm not mistaken, it should just lift out. There's the tire. Might be able to find a 2mm belt that I can put over the tire and glue it in place, and that'll give me enough rubber, because it'll increase the thickness by maybe 1 millimeter, which is really what I need to retain the grip because it's slipping. So let's see if I can find a tire that can, or a belt that I can put around there and then glue it in place. As it happens, I have one that will fit quite nicely onto here, and if I can get that to, if I can glue that in place, then that should give me more than enough grip to get this machine running again. So let's just try gluing a new tire onto, or a new belt onto the exterior of this tire. I've done this before on tape decks and it's been fine. So we're going to use rubber cement and put a coating of rubber cement onto the exterior of the tire. And we'll put the new belt over it and let it dry. And then once it's thoroughly dry, we'll reinstall it and hope for the best. Alright, now that the new tire has dried, let's reassemble. Tires seated back in place again. Place the spring back on. Okay, now I can place the main cassette housing back in place. We'll see whether this will move a tape now that I've got the tire beefed up a bit with an extra tread on it. We'll call it a retread. That looks like it's going to fast forward and rewind. Try rewind. Okay, it will fast forward. It won't rewind. If I put it in rewind, it starts and then it stops like it's at the end of the tape. At least the tape spools are turning now, but we have another problem with this unit. It's like the tape sensor is detecting that the tape is at the end when it actually isn't. Plastic is breaking off this thing, as every time I touch it, something falls off on it. The little plastic tab that holds the front cover on just snapped off. I want to check the tape end sensor, which is down here on the take-up side. Check that photo transistor and see if it's shorted. As that would certainly, if there's leakage on here, that would certainly shut it down if the machine thinks that there's that the leader is showing through, right? We can check the tape sensor by shining a flashlight into it. I'll put my meter across here, the negative to the emitter and the positive to the collector. We watch the meter, okay, and as I tilt the light into or tilt the sensor into the light, we'll see that the phototransistor is conducting, and I move it away from the light and it goes out of conduction. So we know that the tape sensor is not the fault. So for some reason the machine thinks that the tape is at the end. If I put it into rewind, it'll just do this. It'll just go for a few seconds and then stop. So this is the unit from the bottom. I see there's some of that circuit glue on here on these rubber pads that sometimes they rot and they go conductive, so we'll peel these off. It's a weird problem this one's got, and I don't think I'm going to be able to solve it in this video, rather than sit on the video for what could be an extended period until I can dig up some service data on this unit. I may just put this one up just to show you guys what I'm working on and what I'm up against, and why it's not always a good idea to search out and buy this old crap, because so many things go wrong with these things. You get all these weird problems, and sometimes you'll never solve a problem like this. When you got a logic problem, why is it doing it, right? Could be a short anywhere. That's why I'm wondering if maybe the rubber has started to go conductive and starting to attack one of the traces on the board, or causing a short. It plays, the machine plays, and it goes into fast forward, and I can start it in rewind or search, but it only goes for a few seconds and then it stops, almost like it's got a memory set, you know, to rewind to 0 and stop, but it doesn't. We could have a logic problem on here. It could be corrosion setting in from circuit glue, or these little rubber pads that they stuck down to hold wires in place, because the rubber here starts to deteriorate and goes conductive after a while, and the glue that they put them on with can go conductive. So we have to remove these, make sure there's no shorts on any of the traces under them, especially when they sit over top of solder connections. The board itself's got a solder mask on it, which is an insulator, but the soldered on connections don't, so that's where you can get conduction. I can unplug these cards. They're just held in place with a couple screws. They come out from the back. I think they come out from the back on these ones. A couple screws, and this whole back should pop right out to reveal the board that's underneath it. This one here should pop out. Just like that. And this board's got nothing on it. Completely empty board. But what was the point in that board? This other board here probably has something on it though. This is for, I guess, control track and time code. So this is what we're up against on a machine like this. Even though you can pull those cards, which are designed to be, you know, replaced as an entire card, you still can't access anything else in here. There's another chassis in here. Basically, it's a consumer VCR that's had a bunch of add-ons to it, and nothing real fancy other than these add-on cards. You just took a run-of-the-mill consumer machine. You can see the sub-chassis right here for it, and just crammed it into a bigger box and jacked up the price and added a bunch of features for editing and so forth that the consumer machine would not have had. It's got dropout compensator, RF out, time code in and out, sync in, audio monitor, line in, line 1 out, line 2 out, YC358, and a monitor 358, which is not the same as, I don't think that's the same as your standard S-Video. It's a 7-pin connector. But this is a type of machine that would have been used by duplicators for running off movies. It has linear stereo and hi-fi stereo. I've scraped off the circuit glue that I can see. I'll show you, the unit does play.
These and other technical challenges exist daily in our customers' lives. And never is it so obvious as when they come and visit our store.
Tons of dropouts.
Here's a real-life example from a potential home theater customer. Quoted from the editor-in-chief of Stereo Review, Bob and Costco.
So I put it in fast forward and go shuttle forward. That part works. Back to still. I can go in reverse. I'm curious, do we have maybe a mechanical problem that's causing it? So let's try loading the cassette cassette loader without a tape in it. I put some black tape over the sensors here so that I can load the cassette, and then I can run it through its paces without a tape in. So if I go to fast forward, for example, as long as I spin the spool, you'll see that it goes into fast forward, and it's got plenty of torque with the new idler. If I stop this from turning, it actually has plenty of torque. I can slow the motor right down. So there's no problem with torque. Stop. Let's try rewind and see whether it'll go for more than a few seconds without a tape in it. So, oh, wait a minute. Now it's going. So it is staying in rewind if I spin the spool by hand. Let's just try putting a tape back into this thing again. I'll peel off the black tape that I stuck on here for testing. So fast forward. No problem. Rewind, and it doesn't work. It stops. And yet if I put the black tape on the sensors, cover the sensors with black tape, load the compartment manually, select rewind, and spin. It goes. So what gives? There's plenty of torque on it, unless it's not reading the sensor. Maybe the real sensor is not being read properly when it starts up. Because if I stop turning it, it should stop. Okay. It's not reading the sensor. Well, maybe there's no sensor for rewind. The take-up sensor probably only is active on play. Now it says no tape detection. So it did detect the tape wasn't spinning, or the reel wasn't spinning. Now it won't stop when it hits the end because I've got the sensors covered. Okay, I think we're going to pick this up in another part. I just wanted to kind of get a quick look at this. I'll have to do some research on this one and see why it is operating without a tape in it, but as soon as I put a tape in it, it is not rewinding. So we're going to leave it at this one for now. We'll pick it up in a future video. Thanks for watching.